This is more than just technology. It's about rethinking how software gets created and shared. It's a commitment to making software personal again.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Front End Fire, the weekly podcast that helps you stay up to date on the latest and the greatest in the front end world. I'm your host today, Paige Niederinghaus, and I am joined by my co-host, Jack Harrington.
Hello there. Rocking the
TJ
tan stack
Vantel.
hat today.
Yeah. And TJ Vantel.
Hey everybody. Yeah, and I'm aggressively orange today. And
Yes.
my jQuery.
Yeah, you got the
here.
matching, like the matchy-matchy thing going on with the jQuery hat and shirt. That's impressive.
Yeah. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube yet, now might be a good time. You can pop in, like, comment, subscribe, all those good things.
There you go.
Check out
you
my
should do like a
orange.
tip jar, blue versus orange kind of thing.
And you'll never see me in a hat on camera or in real life,
Or anywhere,
so
really. Yeah.
TJ and Jack for all this.
But sunscreen, Paige. Sunscreen.
Yes. Oh, yes. Lots
Just
of
saying.
sunscreen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. We've got a lot of fun things to talk about in the news today. So let's get right to it.
Let's do
Do
it.
All right. TJ, would you like to kick us off with news?
Sure. So I've got some updates on GitHub Copilot. So we did an episode with Burke Holland and Harold Kirshner from the GitHub Copilot team. So that's 2 episodes back in your feed or on your YouTubes. So if you want to check that out, you can scroll back and look at that. But there are some updates that we didn't get to, and they've made some announcements since then that I thought that we'd cover here real quick. One is related to code reviews, and the second is about how premium models are going to work in GitHub Copilot moving forward. So we'll start with the code review bit. So this is something we've talked about briefly on this show before, but GitHub Copilot has a review feature that is built into it. And with this latest batch of announcements or releases, Copilot Code Review is now available to all paid Copilot subscribers. So if you pay for Copilot, you can now access this review feature. What it is you can do these reviews in both Visual Studio Code or on github.com. So basically, when you are in your changes view in Visual Studio Code, you've changed 3 files, you updated some feature, whatever the case may be. There's a button in the changes view around where you would commit files or add in a commit comment or whatever that just allows you to do a straight code review by Copilot. And basically, the AI just comes in, sees if it has any recommendations, goes through the recommendations sequentially. You can ignore them, you can do something about them, you can take its suggestions, whatever the case may be. But I've tried it on a few different features, and it's pretty decent. It actually, I think they erred a little bit on the side of they knew a tool like this could be annoying if it suggested every last little thing. So for mine, the changes it suggested have been very minimal, which I actually kind of liked because it's just kind of like a quick sanity check for changes before I push them up.
Yeah.
On one, I will say the one thing that it suggested. So I had a function that I'd called get token, or it was get something. I can't remember what it was. And Copilot suggested that I update its name to generate token because I was actually not retrieving a value. I was actually making one. So it said for
That makes
clarity,
sense.
this
Sure.
should probably be called generate.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what?
You're
it
right.
probably should be a generate.
yeah.
So I went ahead and changed it.
Oh, and does it actually make the change, or do you then go make the change?
It's offered as a suggestion. So then you can, in some cases, so I've seen sometimes it'll offer a suggestion and sometimes it'll just make a comment. So it kind of depends on the situation. And so you can do those in Visual Studio Code. You could also do them on github.com. So if you use github.com for your, basically for your source control, you can go into PRs and just add Copilot as a reviewer, like it was just a human reviewer. And it'll go through and the same sort of thing. It'll just make comments and drop them in. And it's pretty seamless. It works nice. It's nothing like game changing or that big of a deal, but it is a nice little feature. I've used it a few times already. Just throw it on there and just see what it has to say.
Yeah, I actually saw this in a PR that I was working on yesterday as the the ability to select Copilot as a reviewer, and I hadn't opened the PR yet, but maybe I'll ask it to review it now when I do.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's like, so I mean, it is behind paid tiers, so you are paying for this. This isn't a free feature, but if you're using GitHub Copilot anyways on one of their paid tiers, it's one of those things that, like, why not just throw it on your PRs, see what it has to say.
Sure.
Yeah, I wonder if people like add it on open source projects as like a default. Like seems like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to pass that. Like, and it's just an additional extra reviewer on it. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work from their like account perspective and how they would charge for it.
Yeah,
I could see them maybe allowing it for open source projects, but I don't know how that would work.
Interesting.
And so then the second update from the GitHub Copilot world is that they're introducing a new premium request type. So they say premium requests are in addition to all the other things they offer, like their agent mode, context-driven chat, all these other things. I think this is their way of just pricing in, well, some of these models are more expensive than others. And this is something Cursor does. This is something a lot of these
tokens
these editors,
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there are costs associated with running some of these higher tier models. So it sounds, what Microsoft is doing here sounds very similar to if you've seen the pricing models from like Cursor and Windsurf and such. But customers with Copilot Pro will receive 300 monthly premium requests beginning in May of 2025. And then they have bigger numbers if you're Copilot Business or Copilot Enterprise. They say that they're introducing a new Pro Plus plan for individuals with 1,500 monthly premium requests and access to the best models like GPT 4.5 for $39 a month. And then they're also going to have some degree of like pay-as-you-go type of thing as well, where you can just put in your credit card, presumably, and then they charge a certain amount per usage per model, and that's what your pricing ends up being. So
very nice.
Cool.
So it's kind of the same model that I think all of these editors are kind of agreeing on, that this is just the way forward. They just put some surcharge on certain models, and that's just what it costs if you want to use those higher end models as part of your AI workflows.
The big old reasoning models.
Yep.
Exactly.
Very nice. All right, Jack, what do you have for us today?
Sure. So we have a new three-letter acronym in the AI world now. Google has come out with their A2A protocol, which basically is a complement to MCP. So this is agent to agent, or A2A. And an agent in this case is defined as essentially anything that's got like an LLM and tools, right? So it's going to take an incoming user prompt. You want to do something, the LLM is going to reason about that, and then it's going to use these tools to actually affect change or make queries or do something in the real world. And there you go, voila, agent. So the idea is that this is a new protocol that would allow an A2A client to connect with an A2A server. That A2A server would have an agent in it, and it could do stuff for you. So at this point, it's super at the spec level, so it's not really ready to go, but it's fun to play around with. And one of the, I would say, really interesting parts of it is that you can potentially have like what they call a multi-agent. So this would be like the example that I used in the video that I just made was like a travel agent, and that travel agent would then talk to a hotel agent and a flight agent and a car agent, and they would do kind of the heavy lifting of making all the requests out to the sub-agents to get stuff done. And the protocol is based on JSON RPC. It's pretty much essentially just like a chat protocol. And you can put structured output. You can also have files that go across. So it's a little bit more than just like text stuff. But basically, you're just basically chatting, between these two agents, and either you are generating that prompt, or in the case of a multi-agent, you give it a prompt, and then it goes and generates its own prompts to talk to the other agents. So it's kind of interesting,
What are you implementing here? Like, are you giving it some condition to what? Are you just telling it of the existence of these agents, or are you also telling it under what conditions should you reach out to that agent? Like, if I'm working with a travel agent, am I just telling it like, oh, this is another agent that books flights, or am I telling it this is a travel agent that books flights and I want to use it under these conditions?
Yeah, great question. So part of the protocol You know how MCP has that initial thing where I can ask the MCP server, what are your tools, what are your resources, all that. Well, the similar sort of thing happens with A2A, but you literally get back essentially a JSON calling card. And the calling card says, I'm this agent, I have these capabilities, this is my description, these are my literal skills. It's like I've got a very specific set of skills, right? So it's, your flight agent will say, here's my skill while booking a flight. Here are the kind of prompts that you would use to get me to do that. And then if you're just a user connecting directly with that, then you're getting some hinting about how you would talk to it. But if you are a multi-agent, then you would connect to all these servers, you get all these cards, and then at the point which you get your prompt from the user, you then go and say, ooh, okay, well, I've got an agent over here that books flights. I'll talk to that about that and that sort of thing. But I think that's actually this multi-agent thing. It's kind of very vaguely defined, and that's where you're gonna get those super high-end reasoning LLMs. They're the ones that are gonna actually be able to make use of that. And so an interesting factor here is that all these A2A servers can use different models. Like your flight agent model could have be using GPT-4o mini or something like that, because it really doesn't it's just looking at database stuff or whatever. Whereas your multi-agent model might use some crazy the O1, the O model type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. So do we have any idea when this is going to be available for people to actually use or try out?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's kind of an interesting launch, actually. They've got it's mostly a little bit hypey, they got basically their definition of what it is, and then the GitHub link to the repo that's pretty early days. The packages aren't released. They're not up on npm and all that. And then there's 50 sets of quotes from companies oh, this is the greatest thing, da, 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 da. And it's wow, I've just never seen that before. It's a whole hype list. Yeah, so I don't know. It's weird.
It's interesting that this is coming from Google, because Google has been obsessed with these sort of workflows. If you think, I've seen a million Google I/O demos where they call a restaurant and it does some things through Google Assistant, or there's some executive at Google that's just obsessed as terms of just automating those sorts of workflows. And this is the next logical step, because before it was how Google Assistant was going to do it. And now, of course, everything is agents. So now it's how are these agents going to talk to each other to solve these tasks?
They want Jarvis. So bad.
Yeah.
And I'll remain skeptical until I see these things actually able to solve tasks. But it's interesting to see how Google is thinking about this.
Yeah. I mean, at first glance, when I look at it, it just feels like the bots talking to bots that we've all discussed previously. It's there are no humans involved in this at all. It's just AI agents talking to each other, doing nothing with us input.
Yeah, that could easily spin out of control.
Yeah.
That agent said that. That agent said that. It's you're the parent, okay, you're all taking a timeout now.
Yeah.
I don't care who started the fight. I'm finishing it.
The Claude agent that has been playing Pokemon on Twitch for weeks now, and is still, by the way, just gotten stuck. And
did we get an update on this?
It just hasn't went anywhere.
Is it still in the cave? Exactly.
It's made it. No, it's went in and out of the caves. It's basically going in loops, going nowhere.
Oh.
And I think people have kind of lost interest. The viewership numbers are way down, but that's hopefully this tool will. I don't know. Maybe this will help Claude. I don't know. Maybe Claude can reach out to some other agents and get some help.
Oh, poor Claude. I love Claude.
I know. Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is good stuff. So my update for this week, which we actually saw, I think, right after our show had come out last week, was that RedwoodJS, which we talked about on episode 87, had gone into maintenance mode. And now it has rebranded itself, and it is Redwood SDK. So it's not dead. It's just formally known as RedwoodJS. So RedwoodJS was originally built to simplify full stack development, like a lot of meta frameworks at the time. And as we said, it has entered maintenance mode according to the creators of it on episode 87. And Now, Redwood SDK is the new framework that will become the foundation for the personal software revolution. And this is verbatim from their website, which means not a lot to me. It's very marketing fluff. But it goes on to just talk about how RedwoodJS just really, I guess, isn't probably as profitable as they needed it to be a viable company. And Redwood SDK is going to use all of the serverless infrastructure that we know and love, the AI-driven dev tools that we've come to expect, and open ecosystems, whatever that means. And that they will keep RedwoodJS going for the people who are using it. It is going to be renamed to Redwood GraphQL because it is built upon GraphQL, and we'll continue to use that. But basically, stay tuned for Redwood SDK. It's going to be the new hot thing in the future.
I mean, good for them to keep trying to make it a thing. I mean, I don't like to poo-poo things when people are putting in hard. I mean, RedwoodJS has been, it was a super, I guess it still is a super useful framework. I think it's very hard to exist nowadays when there's so much money involved in this space and you're going against competitors with big funding. And so I wish them the best of luck with this. I don't know. I don't totally understand exactly what the personal software revolution is. That's right? A little bit of a stretch. I feel like we've had some software revolutions already, but best of luck to them.
Is it vibe coding?
I don't know. They don't say.
Yeah.
I think they're leaving it open to interpretation because they're probably trying to figure it out as they pivot towards whatever this is going to be.
Yeah, I've got another quote for you. So, this is more than just technology. It's about rethinking how software gets created and shared. It's a commitment to making software personal again.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very deep for a JavaScript SDK.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like I said, maybe they're onto something here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure though.
Somebody went out in the desert and took some peyote and it's like personal revolution. Yes, that's it. I don't.
So we'll keep an eye on that and let you know as it continues to evolve and hopefully get some more concrete examples of what this looks like.
Sounds a lot like vibe coding to me. But
it does. Suspiciously so.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any bonus news for this week? I know we do, but I'll open up the floor.
We have several things. I'll take the first round of this. So Devin is a collaborative AI teammate that we've talked about before on this show. They have released a 2.0 version of Devin, and their headlining feature of this release is a, quote, agent native IDE experience. And I actually have some background here because I did get a chance to try this out because, so we are still using Devin at Blues, and I set it on a task this week because I had a task where I just needed to scrape some stuff. And I was like, I don't really, it's like a low priority thing. So I don't want to do this. And then I thought like, well, I could just have Devin do it.
Exactly.
And if Devin fails at it, whatever, I'm out a few minutes. But if it does it, then, great. Right. So I set it on this task to do this scraping, and it came back, it did its thing, and it said, 10 minutes later, whatever, he's like, I wrote this Python script. I've got this YAML file for you. I was like, cool. I was like, let me see it.
Okay.
It's like, it's available in whatever.yaml and whatever.python. So I was like, well, where are these files? And I had several back and forths, and I ended up having to have it create a PR on an unrelated repo just so I could get access to these files. Because I'm talking, the main model with Devin is you're talking to it in Slack, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going back and forth in Slack, and I'm like, okay, you did this work, you have these files, just like dump them here. I just want to see them.
Right.
And it sounds like this announcement is that there is more in their web environment. So you can go to Devin's website, but now they have a full VS Code environment on their website and a full terminal into Devin's Docker container. So basically, if you had Devin do something and you just need to step in and go like, whoa, Devin, what are you doing? Let me go take a look at things. You can basically now step into Devin's environment in case you need to take the wheel for whatever reason. So like in like in my case, I'd be able to step in and say like, okay, let me just find this stupid Python file. So I don't have to go back and forth with
Go to
you.
the Docker, like scraping around Docker to go. Wow, jeez.
I don't know, but
All right.
like
It feels like they're walking backwards into Cursor.
This doesn't
Or
sound
Windsurf.
like good developer experience. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
no, because I would have far preferred if it would have just dumped the Python file in Slack, because that's
Right.
kind of the
Yeah.
value of this. Because
Exactly.
to your point, Jack, if I was going to do that, I'd rather just be using Cursor, so I'm working with the files directly, and I don't have this
Right. Just sitting there in
intermediary.
agent mode or whatever. Or just creates a new file in my editor. Like, sure. Okay.
But that's where they're going. Devon 2.0. They have a new plan that starts at $20 a month and that is pay as you go, which is interesting because their only plan was $500 a month for a team. So this $20 a month is far more approachable for people that want to try it out. So that's probably a good thing if you want to dive in and check it out. I'm still kind of mixed about Devon. It's definitely helped me with a few things, but it's also wasted my time also. And so that balance is tricky.
Yeah. Interesting. I have not tried Devon 2.0, but I have heard from another one of our coworkers that apparently Devon eats up a lot of your computer's memory when you have multiple Devon tabs open. So be aware of that if you're using Devon's web browser environment, you may not want to have too many tabs open at the same time with Devon.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never used Devon at all, so I just only hear about this stuff for third hand. I always thought that it was only through Slack, so I'm kind of like, okay.
It was
I guess.
until recently, and now they're trying to branch out into more.
Got it.
more
Okay. So that's
ways
where
of
the whole
using Devon.
web environment / IDE environment, and I'm guessing the IDE environment is probably probably also going to take a lot of RAM.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think it's still Slack primarily, and this environment is there in case you want just more details or see Devon working or jump in on what it's working on.
Yeah. That's also how you teach Devon things, because after you're done with a session with Devon will try and make assumptions about what it's learned about either your project or your coding style or things like that, and you have to go to Devon's web browser and like accept or reject assumptions that Devon wants to make to learn and be better.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
I need an
Also,
AI to talk to the AI to tell Devon what to do.
teach the AI how
Exactly.
to do things. Yep.
Exactly.
A2A. There you go.
There it is,
Sure.
right there.
All right. So continuing on the AI train, WordPress has launched their free AI-powered website builder. We all knew this was coming.
Great.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yep.
It's
are we finally out of this whole WordPress drama thing, or is that still going while they're doing that?
I think that's well, the drama itself has died down. I think that WordPress has just like given up on the open source community. It doesn't, they're doing like what 40 hours a week worth of actual improvements to WordPress.org. So I don't know where that is.
The drama has definitely died down.
Yeah.
I think some of it is probably tied up in court at this point. And
Probably.
I mean, usually in these cases, the lawyers tell everybody to stop talking. And I think Matt Mullenweg was maybe started listening to some of these lawyers. I don't know.
We just got
Or
bored.
they took away his Twitter account or
There you
something.
go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, but WordPress.com has a free AI website builder. They are competing with Wix and Squarespace, which already have their own AI-powered website builders. And it is the AI chat interface that we've all come to know and accept. It is not capable of advanced websites like e-commerce sites or other complex integrations. But if you want just a basic static site, here's my company or here's my business, you can do that. And you get 30 free prompts that you can tweak your site. And then they will force you to pick up a hosting plan to continue tweaking your site and then launch it.
I think this is actually a really good thing. Not the WordPress one specifically, but the fact that you can go to Squarespace or GoDaddy or Wix or this, because there are so many businesses for the longest time that would need a website and have to call people like us to build it when it was completely unnecessary, because lots of these sites, they just need a site for the restaurant that looks good and puts their menu and hours up there. And this sort of tool is great for something like that. It's not overly complex, but if companies can make it more user-friendly, because your local restaurant owner isn't getting into cursor and vibe coding out a website, they need something on one of these sites to help them along. And I think these are great tools, honestly.
Yeah.
And
I can say from personal experience, because my husband and I are looking to go on another scuba trip pretty soon. We got scuba certified a couple of years ago. Wow, there are some scuba shops that had their websites that were built in 2004, and it shows. Those things have not been updated since Web 2.0, and boy, they could really, really benefit from something a little fresher and cleaner.
And it does matter. Like if I run into this a lot when I'm traveling and I just want to find a place to eat. Lots of times the menus, you have to go to the restaurant website, or if you need to make a reservation, you have to go to the website. And there are some that I'll just exclude because the site won't load, or I can't figure out where the menu is. And I'm like, well, there are 12 other restaurants I could check out. I'm just going to leave this one. So having something that's decently high quality for this sort of thing, it really does matter.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. And that reminds me of a local Chinese restaurant near our house. And for the longest time, their website only worked on Internet Explorer. And it would tell you this specifically, like, you couldn't use Chrome, don't use Firefox, you need to go to Internet Explorer for the best experience.
don't use Netscape Navigator. No.
Right.
The local sushi place that I really love, Sushimoto in Lansing, if you're ever around, but their website, pretty much all it is a site that lists their hours, and then there's PDFs of the menu. And to be honest, that's all I need. Like, it's perfect. I click the PDF link, PDFs work and everything. I see the menu, I make my call to get my to-go order, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, you can even save it on a phone, really, to be honest. Like, just pinch and zoom and all that. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Same thing everywhere as Rainbow Roll and all that. Yeah. There you go. I'm so jealous. East Coast egg rolls are so good. I don't know. West Coast egg rolls in Chinese restaurants are not good. But East Coast, they got the really big ones that are deep fried. Man.
What ruins them on the West Coast? What do
They're
you...
just tiny.
Oh.
And they're only they only have like, this cabbage and carrots and a couple of things. You're like,
it's disappointing.
Come on, it's disappointing.
Yeah, the ones we do here are big and wildly unhealthy and amazing.
Oh yeah, totally, exactly.
Like
but it's basically a burrito.
Yeah.
You get two of those.
Deep
That's
fried.
dinner. Yeah, because there's shrimp in there, pork, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Good segue. Any other news, web development news?
Well, we got another AI builder, got Convex, who basically like a Firebase kind of hosted database system, excellent, very high quality, has come out with their own AI builder called Convex Chef, which is going to generate for you applications backed up by Convex. So, yeah, good stuff.
Nice.
What makes this one unique from all the
It's
other...
on Convex.
Convex.
That's what makes it's really the target essentially at this point, right? So you got the AI builder that's going to build you WordPress, you got the AI builder that's going to build you a Convex app, you got the AI builder. I mean, I think like Bolt, I would say, is probably the most advanced one of these. I mean, they've been in the game for a while, and so their stuff is basically kind of like a AI generator, but also like an IDE kind of thing built in. Where a lot of these ones are much more just chat interfaces that output, the app.
Yeah, and Convex is like a back end, right? I'm looking over their website. I haven't used it before. Looks like it is.
Yeah, cool. It's a real-time database. It's excellent. I've used it before, and it's very solid.
Very cool. And I think we have one more bit of bonus news about Stack Blitz.
So speaking of Bolt.new, Jack, the team at Stack Blitz is hosting the world's largest hackathon.
What is it with this stuff? Yeah.
They are going for over $1 million in total prizes. And they were in the news this week because they are, I'll just quote them, "We decided to throw a concert with a Grammy award-winning DJ duo. the chain smokers. So May 7th in San Francisco, if you want to check out the chain smokers and be the part of a pre-party for a hackathon with $1 million in prizes, you can do that. And my biggest takeaway from this is, well, it sure seems like Bolt New and Stackblitz has some money at this point. If they're just if they just let's bring in the chain smokers and give away $1 million in a hackathon, they've got to be doing quite well for themselves.
Yeah. And you read this kind of media blitz that they have written about it, and I mean, it is the most FOMO-inducing press release I have ever seen. The VIP, you're on the wait list when you sign up for this. They're not guaranteeing anybody entry to actually see this private
of course
DJ, chain smoker concert, whatever it is. Yeah, it is the most shock and awe hackathon lineup I've ever read. And I'm skeptical but optimistic that it will be as good as they're making it out to be.
So I am very interested in the logistics of this. Hackathons get a little awkward at scale, and because there's oftentimes different rules involved, like you can't work on something before a certain point, and different when work has to be done. And if you're giving away, and usually that's not that big of a deal because usually the prizes are pretty minimal, like you're winning a free subscription to whatever. But you have to kind of care about that stuff a little bit more when you're promising over $1 million in prizes, right? Because then you're going to have some people that are quite serious about this. So I'd be interested to go, not to participate, but just to be a fly on the wall, put on my journalist hat just to see the logistics of how they do that and how, what are these people building? Presumably they're vibe coding, because that's what you do in Bolt News. So we're just vibe coding our way to $1 million.
Right. Is that, do you have to use Bolt? Or
Yeah.
How do you prove that you used Bolt also? I don't know. It's fascinating, but hey, if you want to be a part of the madness, I mean, May 7th in San Francisco, you can get on the wait list and check this out. We would love to have a report from somebody on the ground in all honesty.
Absolutely.
So.
And suddenly out of nowhere, there's been a bunch of these things. I know Versal's got theirs, and I remember there was another one that was I think a party as opposed to it's just kind of out of nowhere. San Francisco is kind of just blown up again as the place to be physically, and to do these hackathons, which I hadn't heard of a hackathon in years, probably since COVID, really. Yeah. To be honest,
I haven't been to one since COVID, and they used to be quite common, especially for me doing DevRel work. Hackathons were kind of a regular thing I would do, and they really kind of haven't been a thing until, like you said, just very recently. So maybe they're making a comeback. I don't know. Well,
I mean, they probably still have a lot of empty commercial space, so
might be
there's a large tech area still, or tech population still in the Bay Area, even if they're not going to the offices. So good way to rent out a room for a weekend or something.
Hackathons are usually giant marketing gimmicks in my experience, and this falls right into that characterization completely. But I'm going to say, my experience is if you're going to do a hackathon, you might as well just do it, because there's no point in putting on one where you kind of try to chintz out here and there. So I will say they're getting their message out. We're covering it on this show. They're getting some good social media activity, and we'll see what happens when this thing actually goes down.
Yep.
There's also company hackathons, which are kind of the worst, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've been in those week-long hackathons where, I mean, I still can't quite understand how we went from nothing on day one with a developer or with a designer, to a semi-working product by the 5th day. I don't know how we got something together that fast. And it barely worked. I'll say it was, a lot of fake data in the database, but it was something that kind of worked. I don't know how we did that now, looking back on it.
Yeah, the company hackathons are usually some let's incentivize people to work harder for a few days for some silly prizes also.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know if there were prizes. It was just you get to go build this random toy app for a week, and then maybe if we like it, we'll actually put a real team on it, build it for reals. I think that's what they were doing. It's like new ideas. All right. Do we have any other bonus news for this week?
Nope.
Nope. Covered it all? All right.
Yeah. Wow.
Let's get on to our fire starter then.
All right. So for a fire starter for this week, we have text wrap pretty. And what caught my attention about this one is the Safari team wrote up this extremely extensive blog on them implementing text wrap pretty. I'm going to put it in the show notes so you can check this out. If you've ever had any questions about this property before, I guarantee you the Safari team is answering them for you. But basically, so Safari has implemented text wrap pretty in Technology Preview 2.16, so you can download that and check it out. But in this blog post, they talk about how text wrap pretty's implementations are not created equally. Basically, the spec defines it kind of loosely, that the user agent should just make the text kind of look pretty. And Chromium's implementation, and I'll quote from their blog post, only makes adjustments to the last 4 lines of a paragraph. It's focused on preventing short last lines, and it does a little bit with hyphenation. And Safari's one is worthy of an entire blog post. That's why they put this together. But they talk about how they look at an entire paragraph, not just the last few lines, and try to bring balance to the paragraph. They said that we are the first browser to use it to improve what they call RAG, or ragged lines, at the end. So if there's like lines that are doing a little bit of this like stair-stepping thing, they're going to take steps to improve that as well. And they said, we chose to take a more comprehensive approach in our implementation because we want you to be able to use this CSS to make your text easier to read and softer on the eyes, to provide your users with better readability and accessibility, and simply to make something beautiful.
Oh, that's nice. I like it.
So
what is the property? Do I just literally just say like, make it pretty? Like that?
It's text
true.
wrap.
Make it pretty true.
Text wrap : pretty.
Okay. So,
and
yeah,
it's a property that has existed before. It's got an implementation in Chrome and some other browsers as well. It falls back really nicely. It's perfect for just body text content. So if you totally would want to apply this to like a blog post, for example, or like a Wikipedia page, should use this sort of thing. And it falls back if there's text wrap has an auto thing that does some, just basically lays out the text exactly as it finds it. But if you have a blog, if you have any sort of website with body text, it's worth taking a second to just make sure you're applying this. And I don't know, maybe open Safari Technology Preview and see if it looks better. I don't know. I just thought it was cool because it's cool to me when something like the Safari team really geeked out about this, and I think it's really fun. And like their blog post it's really well written. It's not that long, but they go through the choices they've made. They talk about the performance that goes into it because there are performance implications.
Well, absolutely.
If you're putting all this logic into how you arrange text, and if it's a long blog post, so they go into that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it's pretty cool.
I hope that this becomes like a default style for CSS. If people are still doing like reset CSS files or just like new starter projects, that this just becomes like an add-on that immediately gets added to the root or the body of the project. Because it seems like why wouldn't you do this?
Right? Yeah.
Well, it's tricky because certain times there are other text wrap properties, and you might not always want it to wrap pretty, and they actually get into this in the blog post. Like if you have a heading, chances are you want the heading to wrap in a balanced way because it'll look better balanced versus prettified. So they actually get into this in the blog post in terms of when you use it, and really the main slam dunk is just body text. That should pretty much always be text wrap pretty.
Okay.
Right, and so by default you don't know which is body text and which is
so you couldn't apply. You wouldn't want to apply it on like a reset or something like that because you wouldn't want it to apply to everything.
Yeah, fair enough. Interesting. Well, thank you for that. That should be an interesting read. All right, let's talk about what's making us happy this week.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, TJ, what's making you happy this week?
the Apple Sports app on iOS is making me happy. This is a really small thing, but it's just a minimal sports app that is made by Apple. And so it doesn't have any ads or anything. A lot of sports scores apps have a lot of ads, or they're slow and clunky. And this, just made by Apple, is only shows you sports scores. That's really all it does. But what I like about it is that it uses the dynamic island on newer iPhones.
Oh, that's cool.
To show the score in the dynamic island. So basically, you tell it which teams you want to follow. So, for example, last night the Red Wings and Pistons were both playing. They're both some of my favorite teams. And so I was going for a walk at my kids' soccer practice while they were playing, and then all of a sudden it popped up Red Wings 0, Florida 0. I was like, oh, that's right, the Red Wings are playing tonight. And then it's just kind of passively, it's one of the best uses, honestly, of the dynamic island, because it's just passive information that is there. It updates automatically. It does the little thing where the island balloons out to show something. That. So like when I would say when the Red Wings scored, but they didn't score much. Florida scored. The Red Wings are falling apart, unfortunately. But every time Florida scored, it would pop up and say like, "Hey, Florida scored. FYI, it's now 1-0, then 2-0, then 3-0, then 4-0, etc." But the UI is really nice for this. So if you follow sports scores at all, it's just a really simple and good implementation of it by Apple.
Nice. Very cool. All right, Jack, what's making you happy this week?
So the last time my wife and I went out to a movie, we saw a trailer for The Accountant 2. So that just got a new trailer just yesterday, and it's actually looking pretty good. I mean, we've never seen The Accountant, and it's like, okay, so now like it's kind of crazy because you got this. It's got Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is the accountant, and it's basically John Wick plus accounting, which is really just weird. And the second one looks actually pretty funny, but we watched the first one, and it was actually pretty good. Now my wife's like, we're looking forward to going and seeing this, Accountant too. So it's got Ben Affleck and then John Bernthal. You know him if you saw him, kind of guy, but it's fun. It's
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have not been a lot of movies that I've been excited about lately, so it's good to hear that you're looking forward to that one, and it looks promising.
Yeah, and we're going to go see that Rami Malek movie today.
Which one?
One where he plays kind of an FBI guy who's mostly like an IT guy, but then he gets sent out in the field, kind of trying to find his wife or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen the trailer for it. Don't know what the name of it is, though.
We found this new theater locally that's literally like, it was an old theater that I guess somebody bought, and it's pretty clear that the people that run the theater are like total movie geeks. There's like movie posters all over the place from, and props and stuff, and it's just fun. It feels like these people actually care. It's kind of
fun. It's not just a big cinema chain.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's the one-off local guys. Yeah.
Nice.
So we went to see the Minecraft movie this past weekend.
Heard about this.
Because I've got 14-year-old boys, so I'm pretty much legally obligated to go. Minecraft's their favorite game. They play it all the time. So we couldn't not go and see this. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it was quite the experience. It's basically a movie full of fan service. It's just it was because my kids went with a couple of their friends, and I was mostly watching them watch it because I know a little bit about Minecraft, but they were picking up on all the references. They were having fun just talking to their friends like, oh, did you see this? And this is, this from this part of the game or whatever. So they liked it. They had fun with it. For me, I don't know. It was entertaining. It's fast moving and chaotic and crazy. So it's not boring. I will give it that, but it's also not the most, it's not winning any awards for deep plot or anything like that, but it was an experience. I'll say that.
Yeah, did you get the theater chaos that I've been hearing has been surrounding this movie?
I mean, I wouldn't say chaos, but the crowd was more raucous than you would expect from a random movie you saw on a Friday night. Like, there were times where people would cheer, like certain characters would come up and there was actual cheering in the crowd, which does not happen very often during movies. But I wouldn't say like chaos, right? It was just a little more lively than you'd expect.
Yeah, crazy.
Interesting. All right. So what's making me happy this week is actually Claude AI.
Ooh.
So I've been working on building a backend API service with my team, and it's got some more complex API endpoints where, you create one thing and it's referencing data from another table inside of it via UI IDs or something like that. So it's not as straightforward as just put post yet, things like that. So I had a more complex API call that I needed to write, and I put it into Claude because it was just kind of confounding me of like how to do this in a logical way, because there were like 3 or 4 different cases that I needed to be able to handle inside of the function. And it spit out just awesome code that worked the first time on all the different edge cases that I presented to it. Once I had kind of implemented it, I asked it to refactor and pull out some helper functions that were obviously being reused in different API calls. And it's been really, and then I asked it to write tests. And all of this stuff I had also asked GitHub Copilot to do, and GitHub Copilot made a mashup of it. It did not work. The tests didn't run. All kinds of stuff just wasn't well done at all. And Claude 3.7 Sonnet is what it's running with. It's just the free version of Claude on the desktop. It did great. So I'm very impressed with the latest versions of Claude that are out there, even just for free use.
Well, Claude 3.7 is a premium model in GitHub Copilot to go back to our earlier conversation to start the show. So pretty soon you can plug that in and get 300 requests or whatever it is directly in VS Code. So
yeah. Well, hopefully it comes soon, because Claude Desktop was doing great yesterday and GitHub Copilot was not doing so hot.
And with Claude Desktop, you can actually go and add like an MCP server that would access your hard drive. You can actually, say, go and, And, I think there's a new feature of MCP where you can give it like a root folder. So you can basically say only get files from like this point down.
Oh, cool.
So you're not like exposing your whole machine to an AI. You're just like, just that. So
yeah. Nice.
On a creepy note, so I went into ChatGPT this morning to ask it something innocuous, and it pops up and it tells me that like, oh, we have a greater history. Do you want to see what we know about you? And this is like an official pop-up from the system, and it has me send in a prompt like, write a paragraph about what I know about you, make it concise or whatever. And I was honestly a little scared to press that button, and I did, and it was kind of interesting and also very creepy that like it knew me so well, because it's been listening to all of my things. I tell it personal things, honestly, right? Like
sure.
It's an AI agent, and it knows a lot about me, and I knew that, but having that thrown in my face was a little off-putting, honestly.
Yeah.
It was just weird to me that they chose to actually pop that out to me.
Yeah.
Like that they wanted me to see that.
No, I think that's good. Weird.
I feel like at one time there was a thing where you could see what Google knew about you, and it was kind of like a Google personification of you. And I don't know if that's still a thing, but you could,
yes, you can do that. Yeah, and you can add and remove various parts of it as well.
Yeah, but how creepy that Google knows so much based on our usage of Chrome and Gmail and just searching for everything with Google. How well they know us, probably better than we know ourselves in a lot of instances.
Yeah, they'd bring it up on a map, so it's like we know everywhere you've been for the last 10 years. It's the same sort of thing where you're going between, well, that's in a way that's kind of cool because you know kind of what I like, but in a way that's not really pretty cool creepy. Also.
Yeah, I don't want you to know all that. Oh. Well, as AI continues to uncover everything that there is to know about people and humans and us, we'll keep you posted on that. But I think this is going to wrap up another episode of Run and Fire. So as always, thanks to our sponsor, the Blue Collar Coder channel on YouTube. You can find all of our latest episodes on YouTube as well if you want to just have us on chatting in the background. And you can also find us on our Discord server, on our website, frontendfire.com, and X and Blue Sky and LinkedIn and all those good things. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye,
See you
everybody.
there.